of service in our lives and in anything that we do, because service is life, service is giving, and I've talked about it this week, but I need to come live. For those of you that are live with me, if you have any questions, please just put it in my DM. I'm going to receive it, and if I receive it while I'm here, I will also answer the question on Facebook. Um, I just want to share some thoughts with us concerning service. Some of them is to buttress what I have said during the week, the importance of service. Why do we work? We work because we're serving a company. Why are we in business? Because why are we in business? Because we're in business because we're serving the community. We're serving your state, wherever you are serving your customers, so to say. So service is all about life. If you don't serve, there is no way you can achieve anything in life. You will not be able to eat if you're not serving. Service in terms of working for someone, you have a product or you have a service that you offer. There must be something that you're doing. So that's why I say service is life. We can't exist without serving someone. We can't. We can't exist. And through the week, this week, I actually used some scriptures to talk about it. Do you know that the Bible has a lot of management wisdom in it. There's a lot that came out from it, and I think we should just go back. I think I shared from the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 20, from verse 20 down. I talked about service, greatness through service. And some of the things that we saw there was, we know the Zebedee boys, John, James, and John. The mother went to Jesus and he said to him, "Look, I want a situation where my boys will be taken care of in the afterlife, because we are all used to connection. We are used to connection. We are used to connecting. We want to connect. We know someone, want to utilize it. But I also talked about, what if you don't know someone? How do you get there? What if you don't know someone? Then I also gave the scripture on Proverbs 22, I think verse 29. Seeth a man diligent in his business, he will stand before kings and not mean men. So now, what the Lord was saying to us, which He used to speak to me, was be diligent in what you do. Be diligent in what you do, and keep doing that thing that you're doing. A time will come that thing that you're doing will take you to the palace. Let's watch the life of David. What happened to David? He was there in the backside of nowhere, attending to his livestock, his father's livestock, but at the same time playing the harp to the livestock, singing, playing the harp, composing songs, things that he was using to while away time. It was like he was whiling away time. That was what David was doing. But do you know that it's the playing of that harp that took him to the palace? And because when he got to the palace, he didn't get to the palace going there to become a general. He ended up becoming a general. He ended up becoming the king. But he went there because Saul was troubled. When Saul is troubled by an evil spirit, he now has to play the harp to calm him down, so to say, and to return him back to sanity. So the thing was that was a particular service that he was offering. And I'm sure that the person that introduced him to the palace or mentioned him in the palace might be a friend or might not be a friend, an acquaintance, or might just be someone that was passing by and hearing you and hearing David play the harp. And guess what? David was playing the harp, and that was what took him to the palace. So I want to sing. Are you a singer? Are you someone? Are you a songwriter? You have no idea where writing songs and where singing can take you. You know, you don't know what you're doing. Just keep singing and putting it out in YouTube or putting it out where just it does not take. It doesn't take. It doesn't take much before, or it. Not that it doesn't take much, but what I'm saying is a time will come. All it takes is one person to hear you, to see you, and that might be your journey to success. So you don't have it. You don't know anybody in government house. You don't know anybody, any captain of industry. Believe me, you don't really know how your business or you don't know the MD. If you're a career person, you don't know how your business or your career can take you, can flourish, because you don't know anybody. You are probably from a humble background. And but the Lord said, "Seest thou a man diligent in his business, what will happen to him? He will stand before kings." Look at Joseph. Look at the life of Joseph. What happened to Joseph? What was his skills? What was the talent that he had? Joseph had the talent of, at the end of his stay in the dungeon, we realize that Joseph, could not only dream, but he also could interpret his dreams, his own dreams and the dreams of others. And that talent that he had was what helped him to get to the palace. Now I'm asking you, what talents do you have? What skill do you have? What is it that you have? Because some of us have skills, we have talent, natural endowment that God has given to us, but we are not paying attention to it. You see, one thing I've seen, being around the block a couple of times, and one thing I see is that people, oh, okay. I have a friend here, David Padmore. Good to see you. Good to see you. Your comment is, he went not with becoming a general, rather he went there with service in mind. Yeah, good to see you, David. Good to see you. It's been a while. Perhaps we should talk one of these days on the phone or on WhatsApp. All right. I was talking about Joseph, and I said Joseph could interpret dreams, and that's what took him to the palace. So, but I'm asking you right now, what do you have? And I've seen in life, people tend to value other people's gifts, envy other people's gifts, while you should be developing your own skills. I have a friend. He's a speaker. He's a speaker and motivational speaker. He's a speaker. We all speak on a regular basis. But there's something I've told him this maybe like 3 times, but I don't see him changing. I don't know if he has changed. I haven't seen him for a while. When you sit with him, you always hear him talking about somebody else's gift. And when I hear him speak, he's trying to speak in areas that is not the areas of his strength. He wants to speak in a certain way. He wants to do things in a certain way because he admires people that speak like that, that act like that. And I keep telling him, locate your talent, locate your strength, and stay on your strength. And I tell him that, look, you are good in relationship. Nobody can beat you in speaking about faith and talking about relationships. He's quite good at it. But he wants to leave it at times and talk about business, about leadership, because he likes leadership and business talk. Yes, you can like it, but that's not your area of strength. Why don't you stick on your area of strength? We'll talk about it. Say, well, someone can do everything. Yeah, you can. You can be a jack of all trades, but master of none. So Joseph knew his skills, and that skills took him to the palace. You don't need to have connection sometimes. God might do it in a way that you have connection. God might do it for you, and somewhere somebody just looks at you and say, "Oh, I like you, and I want to do this for you. I want to take you there." It does not. It does not happen. It doesn't happen to everybody. No, it doesn't. But once you are connected, you stay on your gift, work your gift, sharpen your skills, and the more you do that, I bet you there's going to be, it's like the more you do it, there's a vibration that is going out of you, and that vibration is doing what? Is attracting people. It will attract people to you. Don't be discouraged. Joseph, 2 years in prison, in the king's prison, I'm sure he told the cupbearer, remember me, remember me. And the cupbearer did not remember him for 2 years. I'm sure he must have been frustrated. But he had the skills. And that skills made him stand before Pharaoh one day, and the rest was history. How about Daniel? The Bible tells us that Daniel served 4 kings. From Nebuchadnezzar downward, he served 4 kings. What was it? We saw in Daniel chapter 1 the gifts and talents that God gave to Daniel, and said Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys were 10 times better than their peers. What is it that you have? You see, because if you keep focusing and your eye is always on where you want to go and what others are doing, you are going off your lane. And if you go off your lane, it might take you some years before you discover yourself and come back to your lane. Because your lane is what has been designed for you from before the foundations of this world. So we see a lot of people pursuing other things that is not their purpose in life. And they might run that race for 20 years only to come back and come and begin again where they're supposed to. So one of the things I recommend for everyone is to try and have moments of reflection. You can actually ask God. But don't ask God a question and expect him to answer you immediately. He answers you at his own time. And you see, God's timing is never a waste of time. God's timing is the best time for you. So when he answers you and tells you to do something, that is the best time for you. Sometimes God not answering you is actually saving your life. So I'm sure some of you know that. But what I am saying to us today is that if you don't have connection, sir, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of students outside, when they are doing the holidays, they go to companies and say, look, I'm going to work for you for free. What is happening is they are mentoring you for free. Because you go there, you don't ask for a salary, so you're not putting pressure on anybody. They will take you. Of course they will take you. And as you walk, you learn. As you walk, you learn. As you walk, you are learning and you're gaining experience. So I must tell you, don't be so much interested. Don't be so much focused on how do I get to the palace. Focus on your service. Focus on service. Focus on that skill, on that talent that you have. And that's what is going to, the day you find yourself in the palace, you know that you have something to work with. You know, and God has a way of doing things. I do an exhibition, I organize exhibition and conference here in my city, Port Harcourt, in Nigeria. I remember when we wanted to start, there was so much hurdles, there was so much out there. I didn't even know how to start, and the money was not there. The money was really funny at that particular time. It was a big struggle to do the very first one. But by God's grace, I was able to do that first one. And after I finished that first one, I had an editor, because then I actually was writing my first book so that I could launch it at the first edition of the exhibition and conference. So I had an editor look and read through it. So now my editor was also the editor of, then he was the deputy president at the Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce. And he told my editor he wanted to see me. And I came to, he said, first of all, he said, who will dare do such a thing in our city? That person must be a chamber member. And told them to come. And I came, and that's why how he said, you were going to work with me when I become the president of the Chamber of Commerce. And yes, when he did become president, he gave me, I worked with him as a director and also a chairman of a trade group. So this was because of what I did. I didn't know much about the Chamber of Commerce. I've heard the Chamber of Commerce before, but I didn't really know what it was. But after the first edition of Make in Nigeria, then it was called ICBEC before it evolved into Make in Nigeria. At that time, I didn't know much about Chamber of Commerce. But you see, service, I served, and in that service, serving was what took me to the Chamber of Commerce. That's what took me to the Chamber of Commerce. And indeed, here I am today. And today I'm the publicity secretary of Port Harcourt Chamber of Commerce. That is the highest leadership level at the Chamber of Commerce. Thank God for that. And how was I able to get there? I was able to get there because of service. Okay, so if we're still considering that topic that we read, we talked about greatness. Jesus was telling his disciples, he said, look, if you want to be great, let me give you a formula for greatness. He said, if you want to be great, then you have to serve. That he did not come to serve, but rather, he did not come to be served, but rather to serve here on earth. He came to serve humanity and not the other way around. And he said, this is the way, this is the model in which you can become great through service. So like I said to you, as I did get into Chamber of Commerce, this was actually how you can become great. Look at the billionaires around you. Look at the successful businesses around you. There's something you will see. People that are diligently serving their community. People that are diligently serving their customers. The more that you serve your customers, the more your customers will bring referrals to you. The more your customers will enrich you. Because that reward it's the financial reward it's like, thank you for serving us. Thank you for doing this for us. So you must serve people to be great. Successful companies are people that are serving well. Successful companies are people that are offering a particular service to the market, or a particular product to the market. And how diligent they are in serving their customers, this is what takes them to the top. Then let's look at, he also talked about, if you want to be number one, then you have to slave. You have to be a slave. You have to be a slave. So you go to a house. Most of the time, the father is the slave of the house. They call him the head of the house, but he's actually the slave. He's slaving to make sure everyone is okay and well taken care of. For you to be number one, you actually have to slave. For you to be a CEO, you actually slaving for the people that work for you, and you are slaving to make sure that organization becomes something. If you're not ready to slave for that organization that you're building, it will not take off. It will not take off. You know, they say, you hear people saying, especially in the workplace, when they are not happy with their company, they will say, look, and I actually slave for this company. And I tell people that yes, you need to slave for that company, because it is through that that slavery, that you are going to get to the top. No organization is just going to keep promoting you and promoting you until one day you become an owner of the company, or you become the MD of the company, if you don't slave for that company. Anything you slave for, I think it's Proverbs 14:23. It says, all hard work brings profit. Did you hear what I said? All hard work brings profit. So if you want profit, if you want greatness, I bet you, if you decide to slave for whatever you want to do, you will come out as number one. So now let me ask you, when you were in school, like when you were in the university, just think back. I was in the university many years ago. And who are the people that came out with the first class? Just think about the people that came up with the first class. Tell me the difference between them and you. The difference is that they slaved in reading. They were slaving in reading. They read all the time, and we used to laugh at them. Why are you reading this much? Does it take all of this? That's why they have the first class. They made out time. Let me tell you, what you don't make out time for, you can never be good at it. So we left with a 2-2 because we didn't really take it serious. But look at someone that is from a very humble background. I remember one guy in school, that's the first time I heard this phrase, that even the poor called us poor. Have you heard that before? That even the poor called us poor. That was how he used to describe himself. But that this guy is an executive director in an oil company in my country. He had a first class, and he was taken from campus. He went to serve in the organization, that's it. By the time his mates were coming to the organization, he was like 3-4 years their senior. Because he slaved in school. He slaved in school. What you slave at, you become number one. The guy took like 6 medals during graduation. Best graduating student, this. Best graduating student, this. Best graduating student, it took almost like 6. Everybody started shouting and said, wow, is he only this man that went to this school? Yes, because he slaved. If you want to be honored in that way, you must also slave for that thing. And let me just chip it in here. If there are married folks here, I'll just chip this in. If you want your marriage to work, you have to slave for it. You have to slave. Even any relationship, you have to slave for it. If you want to rise in the workplace, you have to slave for it. Because as a CEO, the way we see things is different from the way the employees might see things. And I learned this a long time ago when I was working. There's this man, he was a manager, or he was a senior supervisor going to become a manager. And his general manager was talking to an executive director, said, I think this guy has been in one position for too long. shouldn't we promote him to become a manager? And the executive director said he's not a manager material. Everybody was shocked. But this is what the executive director said. He said, this man wants to please everybody. He wants to be in everybody's good books. He wants to make sure, he wants to please everybody. He's always there, and he's covering his team members. When some of his team members do things wrong, he might take the blame or you cover it. We were all shocked. Our mouths were open. We were all shocked because we didn't even know how the executive director got to know that. He said he's not a manager material because he will not be able to protect